I may be in a collared shirt, but this is a baseball video, KO's baseball video diary. Um, Want to talk about hitting. Hitting's my favorite thing in the world. So let's talk about hitting when we're getting back in it. I've been moving, I've been working, I've been moving, I've been working. So I moved recently. So it's been a while. The number one thing I want to talk about, the number one thing I say all the time to hitters is get started early. And it's kind of annoying at a certain point. It's annoying to me to say it all the time, and I think it gets annoying to players because I'm saying it all the time. But the problem and the thing about it is that if you as a hitter are not getting yourself loaded up and down the hill and towards the baseball in time, then there's really nothing else I can say. I can't say talk about your front shoulder because you're racing the ball and you're hurrying and you're pulling that front shoulder. If you're getting started early, it might clean that up. I can't get specific with the hands and the hand placement and the close to your body and the front side and firming up and the backside and the pressure from your feet and where that's coming from and different things I like to talk about. I can't do that if you're not getting started early enough because you're rushing, you're racing, your swing's going to break down, in my opinion. Now, I think when coaches are saying stuff like this to players, it helps to know that where the instruction came from. And I've been thinking about it a little bit. And let's take hitting back to the 70s and 80s. What you saw and what I've seen when I watch hitters in the 70s and 80s, I see a lot of closed stances, a lot of people closing off, and there's always this yin and yang between the pitchers and hitters over the years. Closed stances, people trying to pull the ball. Let's get that top hand over the top. And make sure we can hit the ball hard. Now, I think what may have occurred is that you saw over time is you saw a little bit more sliders. So if I'm a righty facing a righty and I got a closed stance, he front doors me a slider and I got a very closed stance, meaning my front foot is closer than my back foot to home plate, then it's going to be tough to stay in on that and not yank out of there. Chest rake, as I call it. Pull out, pull off the ball, fly my shoulder open, keep that fair, hit it hard, and not have my swing break down. So you saw people kind of go from close to line it up quite a bit more past the 80s and 90s as a response, in my opinion, as a response to the slider. Now, what you saw maybe during the early 90s and whatnot is you saw a little bit of that hangover from the 70s and 80s and similar hitters. And then towards those mid 90s when people would let's call it strongman ball. Some people might call it the steroid era. Is what I saw was a lot of very little movement, very functional hitters. You think of Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, Jeff Bagwell, Jason Giambi, a very snug, very tight setup, not a ton of movement, and just explosive from there, keeping it simple. And what happened, I think, in a response to that is that pitchers decided they needed to throw harder. They needed to throw balls with more break, more two seams, more movement, and so on and so forth. And once the steroids got decreased, we'll say, obviously somebody's doing something out there, but it got decreased tremendously. And the hitting numbers went down. The pitchers had amped up their game, but the hitters had not caught up yet. So during that time, and what I heard when I was in college a lot, shout out to John Jackson up at Everett, is I heard the instruction, get your foot down. Get your foot down. Coach Jackson, you say that all the time. Get your foot down. Get your foot down, get your foot down, get your foot down. Meaning get your stride foot down early so you're in a hit position to be able to hit fastball and sit on breaking balls, sit on off speed, and be able to see it. I can actually get started late and get down the hill and hit a fastball. But if I'm getting started late, I can't hold up on a breaking ball, believe it or not. So a lot of times getting started early helps you hit off speed. So kind of in that 2000, let's say people making their major league debut, 2000, 2012, you see a lot of guys literally getting their foot down. It took me 2/3 of the year, coach, to realize you meant literally get your foot down. And I promise you it worked too. I remember very vividly a day where I went in and I said, you know what? He's been saying, get your foot down. I'm just going to put it on the ground, get into a hit position and hit from there. And I started smashing in a way that I had not in 2 years, if ever, by simply making that one adjustment. Get your foot down. Oh, I can hit fastball. Oh, that's a breaking ball. I'm in position to see it. And it helped a lot. Now, what happened, and you saw a lot of big leaguers during that time with the get your foot down mentality. kind of in that 2000 to 2010, 2012 range. You think of the Texas Rangers when they were making their run with the great offenses they have. Nelson Cruz, Ian Kinsler, Michael Young. You know, those are guys that literally stuck their stride foot on the ground, were in the hip position, saw the ball, and hit from that position. Kind of that, it almost looks like, you know, it's Nelson Cruz to this day. It almost looks like he's sitting there still waiting and deciding to swing and being able to do it. Now, there's been a little bit of a response to that. I think a lot of hitters maybe didn't take to that over time. And you saw people going from maybe from a foot down mentality to more of a rhythm. And then that's where you see kind of the leg kicks come in. But still, the same principle applies of getting started early. I like to look at early David Ortiz, late David Ortiz. Early in his career, Jose Altuve. Late in his career, Jose Altuve. Early Jose Bautista, late Jose Bautista, and see the difference. And the biggest difference, you know, with David Ortiz, you saw him just getting started earlier and earlier and earlier to the point where he's got this beautiful rhythm leg lift. I'm not saying you got to lift your leg. I'm saying you got to get started early. But by the end of his career, he had gotten his swing to a real comfortable point where he's got this beautiful mechanical structure with his early leg lift and his hands and everything, and he's ready to hit. He's ready to hit fastball, curveball, whatever it have you. If you look at early in Jose Altuve's career, he came from that foot down mentality. He was stride foot down early, sitting almost stagnant and hitting from that position. Now, I'm not saying he hit poorly, but you can see over the course of his career, he still gets started early, but he's in more of a rhythm like leg lift, you know, rhythm into the backside, leg lift down the hill. Jose Bautista, he's got a good video about the adjustment he made after he hit 50 homers. I think he had hit somewhere in the teens as a career high prior to hitting 50. Everybody said he was on steroids, and he said it was a swing adjustment, and you can see it very clearly if you look at Jose Bautista on the Pirates versus Jose Bautista in his prime on Toronto, where he was very simple. He wasn't stride down early. He was get started late and be athletic. And he didn't hit well. And he said he felt it. He talks about being in Minnesota one day, and he got himself started early, and he felt his barrel come through the zone so easily. And he said, finally, I get it. And he just took off from there. But you see the adjustment throughout his career to getting started earlier and earlier and earlier in his swing. These guys are so athletic that they even got to the big league level without doing it. And then finally, I think if a guy's got 4 different pitches, a couple different breaking balls, a changeup, and a heater, I mean, how are you going to know what's coming if you're getting started too late? But I think from there, you talk about the transition of foot down to more of a rhythm-like early start. I think of Josh Donaldson, Justin Turner. There's another guy who adjusted from one style to another. And now you see Kyle Lewis with a very rhythm-like approach to his swing. But the idea is the same. You get started early into that backside. And I think one key that helps hitters, you don't need to do the leg lift, guys, especially early. If you've never made this adjustment in your life, it's about getting into the backside and getting down the hill under control, and you got to do it early. It's going to feel funny at first. You might be a little early, and guess what? As you get older, pitchers are going to throw harder and harder and harder. Being a little early for a couple pitches is not the worst adjustment. Having to wait a little longer is not the worst adjustment to have to make for somebody. So it's going to catch up to you at some point. For me, it was college. As soon as I got into college, I couldn't hit a breaking ball. I could hit a fastball, but I was getting started so late that I couldn't sit on breaking balls. I was in go mode by the time my swing was going. Once I made that get started early adjustment, and trust me, it would creep away from me. I'd have to get it back, but that was always the adjustment to make, other than just hitting off the tee over and over to make sure that my barrel path was good. Getting started early was the number one adjustment I made, and it was really the only thing that helped me throughout my life, late in my career. Now, I'm not as athletic as a lot of you guys. It might take you to college, and maybe you're hitting guys that are throwing 80, 85, and you can sit on their stuff. But once they're getting maybe above that, maybe it kicks in where all of a sudden I can't sit on a breaking ball. I feel exposed at the plate. I feel like I cannot swing and hit this ball. At some point, it's going to catch up to you. than not getting started early. So I think the one thing to think about is, when the pitcher breaks his hands, when the pitcher breaks their hands, that's a good time to get started. Key in on that for a little bit before you get a comfortable rhythm, getting back and down the hill. Maybe not starting out with any kind of leg kick or anything like that. Just back into that backside. Josh Donaldson talks about going back into your back heel. I like the inside of your back heel, maybe inside of your back foot, kind of the athletic part of your foot, not the toes, kind of the middle part. So you're very stable and grounded early in working your way out towards hitting the ball. And then we can talk about different adjustments to make. What might happen is you guys are getting back early and you're so used to when you start your swing, you're committed. Now it's I'm back and I'm riding down the hill. Where's the ball? Yep, that's me. Oh, that's a breaking ball. And you're giving yourself an opportunity to see the baseball, which is obviously very important. Also, you're going to get more power. People are worried they're going to lose their power because the rhythm's off. But in reality, you're getting to checkpoints of your load and whatnot where you're actually going to have more power. You're going to be able to get the barrel where it needs to be easier. And have more consistent power by getting started early. So yeah, just to cover that, we talked about the closed stances to the big guys being very tight and attempting to be very functional, to hitters trying to get their foot down to catch up with the speed and the break-in stuff, to some guys saying, I don't like that foot down. I'm kind of double swinging. I feel tight. I've got some holes in my swing to being a little more rhythmic. So that's kind of where people are at right now. In my opinion, you can get your foot down early, or you can be very rhythmic and have a leg kick, or you could be anything in between that. But the key is this: you have to get yourself started early in order to hit, especially at those upper levels. You don't get to see the ball, oh, that's a strike, let's get my swing started. It takes way too long when they're throwing 90 plus, 95 plus with sharp breaking stuff and change-ups. You don't have enough time if you're not getting started early enough.